All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Richard.lesperance. Welcome to A Better Lifestyle. Today, I have the pleasure to have Elizabeth Solaru with me. Welcome, Elizabeth, to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Richard, for having me. I'm
Great.
very excited to be here.
Great. It's my pleasure. Elizabeth is doing some great work in the luxury market industry. So I think you guys are going to benefit from that episode. So please, Elizabeth, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get started in the the luxury industry?
Right. Thank you so much, Richard. I started my career as a scientist. So I was a microbiologist and I worked for, we call it the National Health Service in the UK. I worked for the hospitals in that sphere for at least 15 years. And then I remember waking up one day thinking there's got to be more to life than this. So I then thought I wanted to do something in business, but I had no idea. So I went back to university, I did an MBA, and I then got a job as a headhunter. So I went from a lab to recruiting all these high level chief executives and directors, and then I did that for many years. And then in 2008, as we know, the financial markets collapsed. And then I lost my job in the city. And I thought to myself, this is a key milestone moment for me. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So I decided to set up my own company, which was a childhood dream, making cakes. And I set up my cake company. And through a number of movements and things, I ended up making cakes for some of the wealthiest clients in the UK, including the royal family. And I ended up working with the late Queen Elizabeth's cousin. And she was extremely amazing, very gracious towards me. And the doors opened into another world, which was the luxury world. So that's how I met a great deal of billionaires and people who buy high-end products. And so through the cake making, a lot of people started inviting me to talk about the luxury world and what luxury clients are like. And then the pandemic hit, as you know, and I thought to myself, if I'm being asked to do all this speaking, why don't I put all my knowledge, which is about 15, 16, 20 years knowledge of high-end people, why don't I put it into a book? So that's why I wrote a book. And that's how I've been working with luxury and luxury clients ever since.
What are some valuable lessons that you've learned along the way?
Ooh, plenty. The first one is your mindset really matters. So if you really want something, just go for it. I know it's easier said than done, but there are times you need to see the opportunity before somebody else sees the opportunity for you. So that's lesson number one. Lesson number two, high-end clients are the same as everybody else. The most important thing is your honesty. If you can't do something, tell them you've never done it. Tell them you've never done it, but you will find a way to do it. Because some of them, because due to the book I've written, I let people know the different types of luxury clients. And there are some luxury clients that will give you a chance. Even if you've never done it before, if they like you and they find that you're very trustworthy, and again, it's very important to be a high trustworthy person, they will give you a chance. So always be ready, because you don't know when that opportunity is going to come. But be honest and let them know, I've not done this before, but I'm going to find a way to do it for you. So that's another lesson that I've learned along the way. And another lesson that I would give people for free is, if you have a strong passion and determination to succeed in a particular sector, even if you have no money or connections, it's possible. You can always make those connections. Network and network and network. Just, you need to network like your heart depends on it. And don't be afraid to network outside of your borders or country or even your own sphere of influence. Because the worst people can say to you is no, but you never know, they might tell you yes. So those are some of the lessons I've learned along the way.
You talk about the clients types. I think you talk about in your book about 8 types of clients. Can you talk about that?
Yes, there are 8 different types, and the easiest way for me to explain this without lecturing anybody is I use this. It's a very famous meme. You have King Charles and you've got Ozzy Osbourne. According to demographics, they're the same. So demographics tell you that they were born in 1948. They've both been married twice. They're both rich and they both live in castles. So that's a demographic, marketing demographic will tell you, yeah, they're the same. You sell to them the same. But psychographics, luxury psychographics tell you they're not the same. They're completely different. So King Charles is what I call a comfort first. So the money is not an issue. The issue is around his comfort and his security. Those are the 2 things somebody like Charles cares about. Because they also, somebody like King Charles also likes people who are deeply, deeply loyal. So it doesn't even matter how good you are or what you do, as long as you're loyal and you can prove your loyalty, that's what's important to him. Ozzy Osbourne, on the other hand, is what I would call an innovator, trendsetter. He's often looking for something new and different. And when people think about him, they think about when he's on stage performing. And as a performer, he can't do the same thing twice. He's looking for something different. He's looking for something new. And they carry that into real life. And the advantage of having an innovator, trendsetter as a client in real life is that they become your source of innovation. So they're the ones saying, but can we add this? And can that be done? And can that be done? And why don't we think of it this way? They have 1,001 ideas in 10 minutes, which is a bit annoying sometimes, but it's a source of innovation. But somebody like King Charles, for example, he knows what he likes. He's very comfortable with what he likes, with the way things are. And as long as you can meld to that, that's fine. So to me, those are a couple of examples to describe some of the 8 types that I talk about in my book.
What about the 5 pillars?
The 5 pillars of luxury?
Yeah, I think you talk about that in the book.
In the book, yes. So the 5 pillars of luxury, these are things that I believe have to be present in a brand for it to be considered to be luxury. So imagine a table with 4 legs and there's a central pillar, and that central pillar is what I call storytelling. So it's how well you tell a story, because in luxury, when you're selling to people who can afford to buy anything in the world, when they come to you, they've come to you out of choice. They've not come because maybe that product is going to solve a problem or whatever. They've come because there's something compelling. They have an emotional pull towards your particular product or service. So storytelling is where that emotion that's where you begin to pull the emotion. So, and I use the example of somebody like Coco Chanel. We all know the famous Chanel. And I say to people, what if I told you that she was dropped in an orphanage when she was about 10 by her dad? She was abandoned in an orphanage. She was taught how to sew by the nuns in an orphanage. And when she left the orphanage, her first shop was actually a hat shop. So when you think of luxury and people talk about, oh my God, Chanel, Chanel, but her story is actually not one of luxury, but it's one of a woman who decided, I'm going to dictate what luxury is going to look like for the next whatever generations. People say she invented the little black dress. People talk about how she invented the jacket, et cetera, for women. But at the end of the day, it was her storytelling that made her brand compelling. The other pillars that I talk about in the book, the other 4, I talk about craftsmanship. I talk about the importance of you need to make sure that your craftsmanship, whatever product you're delivering, the craftsmanship is excellent. Then I also talk about perception, because people need to, perception is everything, as they say in life. So if people perceive that you are a luxury brand, They're going to treat you as a luxury brand. And in order to create that perception, I talk about imagery. So the type of imagery that you use is absolutely important. Another pillar that I talk about is the business model that you decide to adopt. So, and I say to people that a big part of your business model is your pricing. And many people that I work with or consult with or coach or mentor, the funny thing is they tend to underprice themselves. One or two might overprice, but for the quality of what they deliver, they underprice. So if you underprice to a luxury client, there's immediately suspicion because they're thinking, why are your prices so low if the quality is that good? And then, of course, the last pillar is the quality that you know, customer service quality. You cannot compromise on that at all. So those are the 5 pillars in a quick nutshell.
So if we talk about brand building and standing out from the competition, it would go back to a little bit of what you said at the beginning, which is storytelling, or there's other stuff that you could add so you could stand out.
Yes, the storytelling for sure. That is where a lot of brands don't connect, because your story has got to be so compelling that that's the only thing I can think of 24/7. So that's one. The second thing is also your how do I put this? It's whether you put yourself out there, because people remember. It's about not the best, it's not about someone who has the best product, but it's about someone who is best remembered. And also, we're living in a digital age, a social media age, where people need to see you constantly. And in the old days of advertising, when in the 60s or whatever, the rule of thumb used to be that you needed to be seen at least 7 times by a client or customers for them to remember you. Then it became 21 times. In the digital age, I believe that figure has even tripled. I believe it's about 40 something times now, according to a latest study. So you need to be seen regularly, and you need to be seen to deliver a consistent message of quality, craftsmanship. This is who we are. This is what we do. And this is how we are best suited to be the best luxury brand for you.
So if someone tomorrow wants to start a luxury brand, where should they start?
Oh, yeah, this is a great question. My favorite question ever. I always say it starts with your mindset, because the problem is I see a lot of people, they start a business and they say, I want to sell to rich people. And in fact, that's the reason I wrote my book, because a lot of people kept saying, Elizabeth, how do I find rich people? I want to sell to rich people. But the problem is it starts with your mindset. You need to know who you are as a person. And in my book, I talk about the 9 different types of luxury brand founders. Because as a luxury brand founder, you need to know your strengths and you need to know your weaknesses. And this is important because when you come across luxury clients, they're going to ask you, Elizabeth, who are you? What have you done before now? What gives you the right to sell to me? What gives you the right to say that you are the best in whatever you do? So you need to know yourself. And what do I mean by that? I found the 9 different archetypes. And I've found that for me, for example, I'm 2 types. I'm both an artisan as well as a visionary. Being an artisan is great. It means I pay attention to craftsmanship. And being a visionary is great because I'm always thinking ahead. But here's the problem. The weaknesses of both is that being an artisan or a craftsman, I'm always just thinking about the product, delivering an excellent product. That means I'm going to spend all my money creating an amazing product, but I'm not thinking about how to sell it. So that's bad. And as a visionary, I'm always thinking of the future and I'm not grounded in the present. So it's very important to know who you are, so that you can have people around you in your team that will help you to sell your products and create that luxury brand that you really want to create.
What are some mistakes you see people do when before starting a luxury brand?
They don't they don't know who they are selling to. They think, oh my God, I have an amazing product. This product is for everybody. No, your product is not for everybody, or your services are not for everybody when it comes to luxury. You need to say to yourself, okay, this particular product will sit well with this type of luxury client. You also need to say to yourself, this type of service is at this level of luxury, because there are different levels of luxury. So you need to know what level of luxury your product or service is at, and then say, okay, because it's at this level, this particular type of luxury client will be my ideal client. And it's better to niche down and then go after the particular client. But unfortunately, many people tend to start with their product or their service as opposed to starting with the client.
What do you see are the challenges that people face in that market?
Oh, the luxury market is challenging. It's not an easy market to get into, but if you can successfully get into it, the rewards are immense. But some of the common challenges I find is that people don't match their products or services with the right client. I find, or if the client is not sure and is holding back, a lot of normal sales training tells you to overcome objections. So if the client is saying, I'm not sure, this is way too expensive for what you're for what you claim you're providing, many people try to convince the client, and it's almost like a battle of wills. So you're saying, no, you got to buy from me, and they're withdrawing. They're saying, no, we don't want to buy from you. And then you're trying to force it. I don't do a battle of wills. I say to people, if people are saying no, they're saying no for a reason. So you need to find out why. What is it about the product or the service or you that they're not buying? And then go back and fix it, as opposed to you trying to use some sales technique or you trying to use scarcity and that sort of thing, because none of that works on luxury clients, because they know they've got the money and they can easily go elsewhere.
Would you say it's harder to sell a luxury product or a service, like offering a service?
Now that's an interesting question, actually. I would say it really depends. I wouldn't say one is harder than another. I would say that if you're trying to sell to people who are not already convinced, because this is the thing about luxury or luxury clients, your clients will come to you because they are already pre-approved, pre-prepared. They want to buy. They're already motivated to buy. So the sale is yours to lose or win, depending on if they like you, if they like what they see, etc., etc., etc. And more importantly, they need to trust you. So if they trust that, okay, there's something about you that I trust, I'm going to give you a chance, then fine. But I wouldn't say product or services are harder. I would just say only if the client is not already pre-motivated, then you can have a bit of a problem. But neither, in my view, is harder.
I guess maybe if your brand is strong enough in the marketplace, it could affect also like the pricing of what you're offering.
Oh, absolutely. To be fair, with certain brands, when you look at the actual product itself and you add up the product, you're not actually buying the product, you're buying the prestige that that brand affords you. So if, for example, maybe there's a particular handbag or wristwatch or something, and you know that having that wristwatch will put you in a certain caliber, or people will get to see you differently, then sure, that's literally what you're buying into. Or if you buy a certain type of car and you know, if I drive that car to the meeting, people are going to perceive me differently. Or if I go to a restaurant, blah, 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 blah. So yes, those are tricks and games that people do play in the luxury sector. However, that brand perception that many people talk about, some brands have spent hundreds of years building that, crafting that, maintaining that. So that's where your money is going into building and crafting and maintaining that, as opposed to the actual product itself. So that name enables them to charge a premium for their products.
Sometimes they say when the economy goes down, the luxury market is the first to get a hit, to go down. What do you have to say about that?
That is true to some extent. However, the luxury market has also weathered a lot of ups and downs in 1,000 years. And a lot of luxury brands actually started during a time of crisis. So Chanel was during World War One. Louis Vuitton was during the French Revolution. So if you think about it, there's an argument for both sides. And right now, the luxury market has taken a hit because the spending from parts of the world like China has actually dipped. So they're not spending as much. But I always say to people, you need to look for the pockets of luxury in other places. So Japan, for example, luxury spending literally went up. India, luxury spending actually went up. Parts of the Caribbean islands, spending went up. Parts of South America, parts of Africa. So yes, certain parts of luxury, especially luxury goods, was the first to be hit. However, I would say to people, luxury is still a great place to invest. You can still get shares. You can still buy shares. I say to some people, instead of getting the handbag, get the shares from the company producing the handbags. Yeah.
What would be some final advice for people who want to get into that market?
I would say you need to be persistent. You need to be tenacious. You need to constantly be building your brand. I've laid out in my book all the work that you need to do. I laid in my book where you need to find luxury clients, how you can find them online, offline, how you need to network, how you need to develop certain skills. You need to look at your business model. You need to look at your branding. You need to look at your product offering. You need to look at yourself, your mindset. So there's a lot of work that you need to do. But as I say to people, it's definitely worth it because there's a certain type of luxury client that once they are converted to buying from you, they're not going to go anywhere else. They're always going to stick with you. So that's what's keeping a lot of the big brands in business, because people have brand loyalty to certain luxury brands.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you have a podcast out there on luxury. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Talk to us about that.
Yes. My podcast is called the Luxury Business Podcast. And I set it up because I wanted a podcast that would speak for people in the luxury business that are not necessarily big brands, but small businesses who are doing extremely well in the luxury market. And I've interviewed a range of people all over the world, from divorce attorneys to jewelers to people who sell services, even security firms that sell their businesses to the ultra high net worth. So the possibilities in the luxury business world are very, very, very endless. You can start almost any type of business in the luxury market as long as you know what you're doing.
Where can people learn more about you and follow you?
Okay. My best place is LinkedIn. And every day I try to create posts. I talk about the luxury market. I talk about how some of the things that I learn from the luxury market can be applied in everyday small luxury businesses. And I also get featured once in a while on LinkedIn News. Some of my musings makes its way to LinkedIn News. And I'm a top voice for luxury on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn would be an amazing, amazing place.